Some have described nature as an angel investor in the global economy, financially significant, yet widely unknown. The global pharmaceuticals industry, for example, is worth some $640 billion. But few know that up to 50% of this market is based on the genetic diversity of wild species. The United Nations Environment Programme reports that the use of these natural resources is generating environmental and social costs to the tune of $6.6 trillion a year, costs that could climb to $28 trillion a year by 2050 if we fail to take action. So while we reap the benefits of nature, we are undermining its valuable inputs. Human activity has substantially degraded the natural environment. The global stock of natural capital and valuable goods and services that it provides are being rapidly depleted, in some cases irreversibly. An ecological crisis is taking place all over the world. By some estimates, 28% of global biodiversity have been lost since 1970, and species are becoming extinct at an unprecedented rate. Environmental economists have been working on valuing nature for decades, but only now is the proposal being taken up more widely. The basis of the natural capital approach is that we currently receive everything from nature for free. This includes food, fresh water, pollination, climate regulation, and soil formation. An economic value needs to be placed on the ecosystem services humans receive from nature. Otherwise, the environment will continue to be destroyed because it is valued at zero. The idea is if governments and companies are aware of the full economic value provided by the environment, they will be able to make informed decisions on the impact of their activities.
We need to invest in natural resources, whether we call it natural capital, whether we call it natural resources, but the basic premise here is that investment in natural resources is good for the economy, it's good for business. In addition to that, we're also talking about investing in human capital, because these are the two cornerstones really for achieving sustainable development. And if we miss on that, then we have missed the entire goal of achieving sustainable development. Linked to that is integration. And this is a key word, and I always keep on pressing on this. So we're talking about integration between the three dimensions of sustainability: social, economic, environment, and I would even go beyond that. It's not just integration, it's even starting with investing in the environment as a key entry point for achieving the social goal, which is creating jobs and improving human welfare and health. And the economic dimension, it's clear that you're investing in natural resources, so you're achieving efficiency in the use of resources, allocation, better allocation of natural resources, and at the same time, the value addition bit and enhancing competitiveness through better use of resources and so on and so forth. So it's not just integration of the environment across, or starting off with investing in the environment and human resources, but working across sectors.
Nature is priceless. However, it is not valueless, and there are now many studies around the world which have tried to calculate natural capital in financial terms. For example, it is calculated that avoiding greenhouse gas emissions by conserving global forests would be worth $3.7 trillion, or that insect pollination is worth $190 billion a year to global agricultural output. The business case being put to the private sector is that it is in their interests to use their natural capital assets sustainably in the short term as a way to guarantee long-term profits. By depleting natural capital now, they put their supply chains and future productivity at risk. Fisheries, which support the livelihoods of millions of people around the world today, poorly managed fish stocks threaten the future of this important industry. The unsustainable use of natural resources can result in an increase in a country's GDP while it actually becomes poorer. Legislators can play a central role in making the transition to the sustainable economy by recognizing and taking into account the value of biodiversity and of ecosystem services through the exercise of their legislative oversight and budgetary responsibilities. They can advance this vision by pushing for the implementation of wealth accounting and valuation of ecosystem services as practical tools to operationalize the vision of sustainable development.
We cannot continue top-down policy making unless we talk to the local communities, unless we integrate the different sectors of the economy, unless we talk to the marginalized economies and underprivileged sectors of our societies, then we're not going far. We have to capture the priorities, the interests of the different segments of the population. I think this is key. The other is putting in place the right institutional setup. Corruption has to be addressed. There are vested interests of different stakeholders which has to be addressed. People in high places or in the private sector, they have an interest in maintaining the status quo. And because achieving sustainable development for them may mean that they lose power, they lose financial resources, then they have to be addressed, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to deal with them. Transparency is key, accountability is key to achieve sustainable development. I think these are all, and we acknowledge all of that, and I think a number of African countries now are taking steps to address this. Africa, and we all know, is the richest continent on the globe. Yet, unfortunately, we're still the poorest. Something is wrong.
Natural capital depletion is set to become a major challenge for businesses in the 21st century as population growth and climate change exacerbate the demands on Earth's resources. Given the severity of the risk, natural capital should be addressed at the board level and valued and managed in the same way as financial capital. Environmental experts are warning that businesses cannot continue to take natural assets for granted, and an urgent change in mindset is needed. Businesses risk facing water shortages and scarcity of key raw materials, which will disrupt the supply chain and make them vulnerable to price volatility. Businesses are now being urged to consider their dependencies and impacts on critical natural resources and ecosystems with a view to managing or mitigating these impacts. Undertaking these analyses is of particular relevance to multinational companies with extensive supply chains in emerging markets, especially in regions already facing water shortages and air pollution issues. Environmental impact hotspots often lie outside of a company's direct operations, falling under the control of suppliers or further down the value chain, the end consumer instead. Natural capital accounting not only helps mitigate risk, but embedding sustainability considerations into decisions and strategy also helps promote the long-term resilience of the business. Furthermore, it can lead to product and process innovation, open new revenue streams and market opportunities, and provide brand differentiation. It is clear that over time, companies will make radical changes to their environmental accounting for resource use along their entire value chain. Companies that embrace natural capital accounting are likely to come to grips earlier with the major challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. Since Rio Plus 20 in 2012, 68 countries have supported a communique that calls on governments, the United Nations system, international financial institutions, and other international organizations to strengthen the implementation of natural capital accounting. In April 2013, more than 35 ministers, vice ministers, and senior officials of finance, development, and environment came together for a high-level ministerial dialogue on natural capital accounting. They were part of a larger group of more than 60 countries, and the first movers of natural capital accounting who were sharing technical know-how and the setup of institutions needed to move the agenda forward. The simple truth is, when we take care of nature, we are simply taking care of ourselves. That's our program for today. Thank you for watching. We hope to be back with you next week. But before then, should you have any comment or question, our inbox at file@channelstv.com is always available. We will see you next week. Bye for now.